Two books by the same author today because I finished one of them and had to pick up the other one almost immediately. They're not in the same series, so the order does not matter, but they do share a compulsion to poke and prod at the most uncomfortable subject matter you can imagine. First up, Penance by Eliza Clark. This is fiction, but it's framed as a book written about a real crime, which becomes thematically important later on. It follows a group of schoolgirls who murdered their classmate in a small English seaside town. Their motivations for this become the primary mystery of the book, and as we learn more about each of them, we begin to see that there are more layers to this than it first appeared, or we think we see that anyway. Potentially unreliable narrators aside, I found the dynamics of teenage friendship, factionalism and betrayal to be incredibly well captured in this book. The girls' feelings of alienation are worryingly relatable, and it's even more worrying when you realise the ways that you're projecting your experiences onto them are not a million miles away from the ways that some of them relate to the perpetrators of some notorious crimes via online fandoms. In the end, can we ever really tell someone else's story without making it about us? And if we try to say anything with confidence about such horrific events, other than that they're a tragic waste of life, are we buying into the same narratives that caused them? Maybe. I don't know. Why asking me? And then there's the other book, Boy Parts, also by Eliza Clark. I read this over 2 days in the grip of COVID, and that's either the worst or the best way to read it, because it all felt sickeningly real to my feverish brain. This book was described by my friend as a gender-flipped American Psycho, and the comparison is apt, although personally I enjoyed Boy Parts a lot more. Maybe it's just refreshing to read something with a truly reprehensible female narrator. I can only really think of one other example of this, who I won't name for spoiler reasons. Anyway, here we're following fetish photographer Irina, whose talent for creating subversive works of art is equalled only by her talent for hurting everyone around her, emotionally, mentally, and physically. This includes, but is not limited to, the parade of awkward young men, whom she preys upon to build out her photography portfolio. What makes it feel both believable and viscerally horrifying is that Clark flips the gender roles not simply by showing women enacting physical violence on men, as in something like The Power. Boy Parts hits men where they're already vulnerable, right in the insecurities. The fear of being seen as pathetic, of rejection and ridicule, of having your every personality trait exposed as simply a cliché or a shallow manipulation tactic. It's relentless and cruelly effective, at least if you're as riddled with anxiety as I am. Also, like American Psycho, the sheer toxicity of the perspective we're locked into gave me a headache after a while. Unless that was also COVID. But mercifully, this book is like half the length of that one. Some characters you just don't want to spend that much time around, even if they are fascinating. And we do also get the occasional reprieve in the form of a blog post from Irina's long-suffering friend Flo, whose situation is perhaps the most heartbreaking in the entire book. Anyway, another writer joins the ranks of those that I consider to have writing superpowers, because I'm not sure that any book has really made me squirm quite that much, and they've tried. I've read Lolita. I'm very, very interested to see what depravity Eliza Clark comes up with next.